top 5 violin brands for beginners, plus a few to avoid. If you haven't met, hi, I'm Megan. I'm a violinist and Suzuki trained teacher. I've been playing the violin for about 24 years. I have my bachelor's and master's degrees in violin performance, and I've been teaching for a little over 10 years. If this is the first video you're seeing of mine, or even if it's not, please make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. I can't tell you how much that helps me out. And if you're interested in further instruction from me, you can check out the descriptions for the 2 different ways to work with me. One is through traditional private one-on-one lessons, which I give online or here in my home in New Jersey. And the other is my flexible, self-paced online learning program, Learn Violin Online. When you join Learn Violin Online, you unlock one seamless path to violin mastery, which takes you all the way from beginner to advanced, plus access to our exclusive community, unlimited feedback from me, monthly challenges, and more. Enrollment is opening up in March, so be sure to snag your spot on the waitlist if you're interested for first access to the program and a special freebie from me. So what are the best violin brands for beginners? I'm going to be giving you my top 5 recommendations for violin brands, but really when you are purchasing a violin, the best thing that you can do is to try it out for yourself. However, I understand that not everyone has shops near them, and if you're a complete beginner, you don't know how to play the violin yet, so how can you try it? But in this video, you'll get some ideas of brands that are good quality and that you really can't go wrong with, and a few to definitely avoid. So the first brand that I recommend is Fiddlover. I did a collaboration with them a few months back where they sent me one of their violins and I did a whole unboxing and review. I'm going to leave that linked here so you can watch it if you're interested. But honestly, I was so pleasantly surprised with the quality of this violin. The violin that I have from them is the Fiddlover Q033 beginner violin, which I'll leave linked in the description. And I believe the price is about $200 to $250, which is very cheap for a violin. I think it has a really beautiful resonant sound. It's really easy to play. It's really light. And honestly, ever since I got this violin a couple months ago, I have been pretty much using it exclusively for gigs. I think it's a great quality violin at a super reasonable price. Here's a short clip of me playing it. The second violin brand that I recommend is Stentor. Now, I have never personally tried one of these violins, but I have seen a lot of great reviews about them online. Again, I believe they're pretty affordable, ranging anywhere from like the $175 to about the $350 range, just depending on the model and of course where you get it from. Like I said, I've never personally tried this violin, but I have seen plenty of videos of people playing it, and I think it's a decent quality violin. It's definitely like a student grade violin. You're not gonna get like the magical sound out of it that you would get, you know, out of like couple $1,000 violin, but really that's to be expected. But Stentor violins are set up well, they're easy to play, and you really can't go wrong when purchasing one, especially if you're a beginner. The third brand that I recommend is Fiddlerman. So Fiddlerman or Fiddler Shop is a shop based out of Florida here in the US, but they do ship worldwide. And they have a great variety of violins ranging from like the $200-ish range all the way up through the thousands. Their violins are good quality, but the reason why I personally recommend Fiddler Shop or Fiddlerman is because of their customer service. I've never had a Fiddlerman violin, but I have several students who have, and I've only heard great things. One of my students lived in Arizona, and she bought a violin from Fiddlerman, and because Arizona is so hot, the varnish actually melted a little bit during transport. She let them know, they sent her a new one, no questions asked. Another one of my students purchased a violin from them, and her violin just like spontaneously broke someday. It wasn't her fault, she wasn't even touching the instrument, but again, Fiddler Shop just sent her a new one, no questions asked. I also found that if you have like questions for them about anything about their violins or which one you think would be right for you, they're more than happy to chat with you and make sure that you make the best decision possible. The fourth violin brand that I recommend is Eastman. Eastman violins are amazing quality. I don't have one myself, but I have played on several because several of my students have that model. They are super resonant, they're very easy to play, they're all set up very well. The reason why I put them a little bit, I guess, higher or lower on this list, depending on how you look at it, is because they are a little bit more expensive. An Eastman violin can range up into that $1,000+ range, which is a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but in the scheme of things, violin-wise, it's not. Something that I forgot to mention is that many shops, if you have a violin shop in your area, will rent violins. I like renting for beginners, one, because it's low commitment, you know. You might have the best intentions and you really want to learn, but then you might find that you just don't have the time right now. So if you rent, it's much easier to return them. If you rent, also the shops are much more likely to help you out if you break a string or need something replaced or whatever. And when you rent, you'll likely get to play on a higher quality instrument. I know a lot of shops, at least here in my area, do rent out Eastman violins for less than $40 a month. And the fifth violin brand that I recommend is Scott Cow. So again, why this is higher or lower on the list is because they are a little bit more expensive, but they're great quality. Set up well, easy to play. I find that they have a really rich, dark sound, which I think a lot of beginners really like. They're very resonant and you really can't go wrong with any of their models. I'll of course leave links to all of these suggestions in the description. And if you have a violin brand that you really, really love, let me know in the comments. Before I get into the brands to avoid, another question that I'm often asked is the brand of my violin, the brand maker, whatever. So my violin was actually made by Salvatore Caligari. It's a model of a Guadagnini and it was made in 2006. So if you look this guy up, you probably won't find too much on him because he's not really a super well-known violin maker. It's a Chinese violin. I got it for less than $3,000. So I'm saying all of this to say while yes, there are certain brands that you can generally rely on to be good quality and to never steer you wrong, there are dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of violin makers and violin brands out there. So if you do have a shop near you, go and try some and don't just be locked into one particular brand that you are interested in. Now here are a few violin brands to avoid. First is Amadeus. So I do actually have an Amadeus violin. It was given to me when I started my first teaching job as a student violin that I could take to the schools. One, it doesn't sound very good. It has a very scratchy sound and it's really easy to get wolf tones and it's just hard to make a good sound on it. Two, it goes out of tune so much. I swear, the slightest little breath of air and it'll go out of tune, which is really annoying and really inconvenient. It was honestly super cheap. I think it was $100 or something, but for just $150 more, you could get a stentor or a fiddle lever violin, which are so much better quality. The second brand that I would avoid is Cecilio. So I've had a couple of students have this brand because it is a really popular brand on Amazon and it's just not good quality. It's really hard to tune. The pegs get stuck really easily, but really hard to turn. The fine tuners on some of these violins are also impossible to turn, and so that in itself is really frustrating. Plus they just don't sound the best, and again, for the same amount of money or slightly more, you could get a much better quality instrument. So it's a no from me on Cecilio. Another violin brand to avoid, and maybe this is controversial, maybe this is just a me thing, anything colored. Unless you're getting an electric violin, a specific electric violin, please don't get a carbon fiber purple or blue or white violin. You know, they're okay, but I've never really ran into a good one. I know, don't hate me. This, I hope, goes without saying. It's not to bash on you if you have any of these violins. It could just have been my own personal experience with them. If you have this violin and you like it, by all means, keep playing it. And the final brand to avoid is anything you find on Amazon, okay? Amazon is great for, getting clothes or like books or, you know, supplements, something like that, but not for violins. If you are buying a violin, please, I beg of you, do not buy it from Amazon. Go to one of the reputable shops that I've mentioned. Another shop is sharmusic.com. Johnson Strings is another one, Kennedy Violins. Just look up a specific dedicated violin or at least musical instrument shop, because that is going to greatly increase your chances of getting an actually like playable instrument. So those were my top 5 violin brands for beginners and a couple to avoid. Like I said, let me know what violin brands you like, maybe what brand your violin is, and where you got it. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe before you go.